Welcome to It's All About Connection, NVC with Dr. B.
So welcome everybody. Today we are mixing it up some, and I have somebody other than Heather with us. This is my friend Juliana, and she's
Hello.
Also my colleague, one of my facilitators at the Bigby Method. And yeah, we've had many discussions over the last year and a few months since Juliana had a new little being come forth in the world, her daughter. So she has on many occasions mentioned to me just how valuable and interesting it is to be raising a child through the lens of NVC. And I just thought it might be helpful and a fun topic for our listeners to, just hear from a fairly new parent about her journey of raising a child with NVC. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So Juliana, let's just launch right in. I guess you can say how old your daughter is and just anything that comes to mind, and we'll just be fluid with where the conversation goes.
Yeah, absolutely. So my daughter is 15 months old. Her name is Celeste. And yeah, I think NVC has been really helpful in even before she got here, like pregnancy was kind of hard for me. I was not a fan of the process. And yeah, having, I think, just awareness around my feelings and needs in any given moment, and also having a partner who is trained and I would say skilled in NVC as well was, I think, invaluable.
You're one of the fortunate ones where the
know.
entire family unit is trained and uses NVC.
Yes, yeah, it's I'm super grateful for that, really. Yeah, so my husband, was able to give me empathy in those times when, I've got the pregnancy hormones and I'm pissed off and in pain and just have thoughts that the world is against me and, whatever. And those things come up with a newborn as well. So yeah, having just a unit. Yeah, I like that term, a unit at home that is supportive, in that way specifically, and is able to give empathy is really helpful. And I think most people could relate who have children, when I say that bringing a new person into your world, into your home and life, can be really challenging. I mean, it's beautiful, and both of those are judgments, beautiful and challenging. But yeah, there's just a lot that comes up. Everything changes, and having NVC as a tool in my marriage has been really helpful in just us kind of navigating all of the hard things that come up.
What I think I'm taking away from this is that you're, having a newborn or new child come into the life, it changes things. So there's a lot of stuff like an upheaval around patterns, predictability, routines, right?
Yeah.
And that, I think for those of us that have had children, that you're tired, you don't get the sleep that you would typically have. And you're trying to juggle work life and everyday things happening along with now this huge responsibility. And I'm guessing for you, like many of us, it puts a stress. Like you said, it brings a lot of joy and there's beauty to it, but there's now a definite level of stress that can come along with having a newborn, and
Mm-hmm.
that without NVC, we could have the tendency of casting a lot of blame
Oh
on
yeah.
on the other person, your partner, if you have one, or yourself, or both. And that's what I think I'm hearing you say through all of this, is that that's NVC has really helped you not to go there.
Well, I don't know if I would say that. So we still go there. And that's, I think something to call attention to, like even with these skills. And, I've been doing this for years now. And I teach this, I work for the Big B method. And I just want to point out that, like, yeah, even I think all of us really, we still fall into those patterns of blame and judgment. But the difference is I have awareness around it, and my husband does too. And when it happens, we're able to come back to connection. So, even when we do lash out, even when we do blame each other, we can like take a step back and say, like, okay, I'm in Jackal right now, and I'm definitely blaming you. And what's really going on here? What's the observation, what's actually happening in real life in front of us. What am I feeling around it? What are you feeling around it? What are our needs? And where do we go from here? How do we come up with strategies that work for both of us? And that has been super helpful. And yeah, I don't think it's super accurate to say that NVC just takes all of that away, because it doesn't. Like, we're human.
Right. You still have the reactions. You still go to the blame. But what I think I'm taking away from what you said is the big difference is you have awareness that that's happening. Maybe even not even right in the moment, but at least afterwards, there's an awareness. Oh, that's what happened. Let me go back to what I know brings me back to connection. What actually happened, the observation, what are the feelings that are coming up for people here, what the needs, what's an action that we can take going forward to help get these needs met, rather than throwing out the blame that I maybe just did 5 minutes ago or 10 minutes ago.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So all of that, and beyond, that relationship and that kind of conflict aspect of it, I've noticed that just having an awareness of, or like, I don't know, NVC has kind of changed the way that I just exist in the world and the way that I think about things. It's not just my communication, but it's just the way that I look at everything now. I tell people that I think in NVC. And so what I mean by that is, like when I see someone doing something, even if it's somebody that is removed from me, I just kind of think in terms of needs rather than stories. And so the same thing happens with Celeste. Like
Your daughter.
Yes, my daughter. I watch her, and I think like, oh, she's doing this right now to satisfy this need, or maybe she's doing this because she doesn't know how to satisfy X need. And thinking about her and her existence in terms of needs, I think has kind of helped take the mystery out of, I don't know, parenting. Like, babies, they can't talk. They have few ways of expressing themselves, and a lot of those ways I think a lot of people can find annoying. Like crying or screaming. And so just hearing her cry, I just look at the situation and think like, okay, what need does she have right now? And because she's a baby, there really aren't that many yet. Like when she was really young, there were needs around, food and nutrition and rest, and maybe like comfort.
Yeah, like she probably doesn't have, just to kind of add on to what you're saying here, we have this whole big long list of needs that I often refer folks to. And yes, she might not have a need for intimacy. Maybe though, actually, at a
Maybe.
young age.
Yeah.
I'm looking at
Maybe
some.
like integrity probably isn't alive for her yet, or
Correct.
like respect. Like
Mhm.
I don't think she like can conceptually understand that.
Yeah, authenticity.
Right. Yeah.
What's another one? Like effectiveness, achievement. I mean, those are ones that maybe you could say in some way that she has them, but probably not yet. Yeah.
Right.
So at an early stage in a person's life, what you're saying is there are just really a handful of needs that are probably really on the table.
Yeah. Yeah. And there are plenty that aren't really turned on yet. Like, at least that's how my husband and I have talked about it. It's like, oh, this need has turned on last week, you know.
Like what? Can you give an example of like recent,
Yeah.
like, so when she starts out, you're saying she mostly has needs around like food and sleep and probably presence
Yeah. Maybe
on some
comfort.
level. Comfort. Yep.
Yeah.
Comfort. Uh-huh.
Yeah. And then so, like in the last month or so, like just before Christmas, she started walking. And when she was learning to walk, and even now, I mean, she's still learning, like, obviously, she hasn't perfected walking yet. Um, she has this new need for autonomy. And, like, I'll even go to try to hold her hand, and she, like, slaps it away.
And
And
she hadn't done that before, so that's a whole new
no,
thing.
exactly. Like, before she wanted my support in that. And, she needed, yeah, she needed support. And now she needs autonomy so that she can, learn and grow on her own, which is really just like cool to watch. And also like a very, I don't know, I think it's kind of a sweet perspective because I can see, and I've heard this from other parents, like, oh, they grow up so fast and like, you just wait, one day they're not going to want X, Y, and Z anymore. And instead of thinking of it in like this loss of, like, oh, my baby doesn't want to hold my hand anymore, I can think of it in a gain of, you know, more awareness around what she needs. Like, she needs autonomy, and this is something that she's learning. And so I don't know, it's just like this little kind of perspective shift that makes it exciting, I guess.
Yeah, excited because it's as if she's gaining more fullness in her life as a result
Mm-hmm.
of those things. That
Yeah.
as a parent, when you have that kind of perspective, you wouldn't want to keep that from her, you know? You wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
want your child not to have autonomy, really, going
Right.
forward. That's what
Yeah.
you want, right? So rather than taking offense, which if you're not looking at things through a needs lens, somebody might take offense if their child slaps their hand away,
Mm-hmm.
might have some judgment even on a baby, like, they're being rude, they don't have respect for me even at this young age, right? I mean, that's going to an extreme, I think, but
Mm-hmm.
that's what kind of happens all along. Just be ready as your child grows up and starts to show behavior. I think, what you're trying to share here is having this lens of needs on things allows you to have a lot more acceptance of their growth and development and even excitement and joy around it, even when there are things that maybe take away some of the initial pleasures that you had with that person.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's very right. And, as you were saying that, another example came to mind. You know, she doesn't have a whole lot of tools for communication yet, like I mentioned. And so when she doesn't want something, instead of saying no or no thank you, she will push it away and go and like almost like spit a little bit. And she did that recently with someone in our family, and they did get offended, which I found a little bit amusing, honestly. But I was just thinking, like, that's her way of communicating that, because she isn't able to say no. And really, that's like another way of her, expressing her needs around like autonomy and choice, really. Um, which, yeah, I think if you look at it that way, like, oh, she's expressing choice, then that's very different from she's spitting on me and disrespecting me or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very, very intriguing, I think. I'm having thoughts of how cool it would be for people that are learning child development, that this is one of the things that they learn along with child development, how helpful it could actually be. So
Yeah.
I'm noticing we're at 15 minutes here, and I like to keep these relatively short. Is there anything else that you'd be sad that you didn't get a chance to share out?
One more thing that I did mention in a blog around this, and I'll try to keep it brief, just about how NVC has given me the tools to make requests around things for my daughter. And, you know, I do have boundaries with her. And so, like, one example is at her daycare, they give the kids snacks that I'm not comfortable with. Like, they don't meet my needs for nutrition. So I was able to use MVC to make a request around that. You know, like, it took some guesses around like what their needs are, probably around, you know, like sustainability and ease and whatever. And then my needs, and we ended up coming up with a solution that worked, that I did not come up with on my own. And I'm really glad that I like was able to have a conversation with them instead of like going in with demands like, hey, I don't like what you're doing, do this instead. You know, I was able to, yeah, have empathy for them, and they were very open, and it worked out. And so that's just one example, but I make requests around, you know, her all the time.
Yeah, that you're able to get your needs met because you're using this process, which you know, I'm tracking that in the example that you gave. You first led with empathy for other because yeah, there's no right or wrong. That's what we're trying to take out of the equation here. They're not wrong for feeding her these kinds of things, and you're not right or wrong for wanting her to eat. You know, just it's all about needs, right? So if you can lead with that with other, we usually find that there can be more openness in them receiving whatever is going on for you. And it sounds like that's exactly what happened in this circumstance, and that you're using that over and over again so that you can get needs met and make requests for people as you're moving in this new world as a mother.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that so many um, new mothers, or just mothers in general, like at least I did, I had this thought that, you know, like I'm being pushy, and like I have all of these high standards and people won't understand, and how am I gonna, and I had like a lot of nervousness around, you know, like making these decisions and thinking like, oh, people are going to think I'm controlling or whatever. And, you know, getting out of that story first, like giving myself empathy, and then being able to go into those situations giving someone else empathy first, and then, you know, going through that whole process of making a request. And it's it's so interesting, like how our stories in our head are a lot more catastrophic than reality. You know, like going into that situation, I was so nervous, and I was like, wait a minute, I have tools for this, and I use them, and then I was like, oh, this is actually really great, and like way better than I could have imagined. Okay.
That's funny. I think we could end there. I have like note to myself that that would be make another really good podcast episode.
Mm-hmm.
How the stories in our head are so much more catastrophic than reality actually is. So note
Mm-hmm.
to us to come back to that one because I just think that could be a very fun one to talk about in general.
Yeah.
Um, I am very grateful for you taking some time to share with others. I am guessing that this will be helpful. And I've been had a lot of joy just watching you and your husband and your baby on this journey of personhood. It's been very fun and just, I don't know, I get a lot of joy also knowing how much NVC has been so helpful to your family unit.
Mm. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. I like the term journey of personhood.
Kind of what it is, right?
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. So, and if people have any questions out there in the world, you're always welcome to call in on our Empathy Warm line, which is 850-706-0488. Also, we have our intro class, which is always open, available for people to join. So if you're a parent out there and you want to know how to have this kind of tool as you are going through the journey of personhood, come and join us at the Big B Method. Thank you, everybody.
You've been listening to It's All About Connection, NVC with Dr. B. For more episodes and guest bios, please visit us at www.thebigbmethod.com. That's www.thebigbmethod.com. And remember, empathy first.